Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be discussing the Yeezy 350 Zebra once again. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Yeezy 350 Zebra and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you're always 100% updated. Also, if anyone wants to get to know me a bit outside of reselling and collecting, feel free to follow my personal Instagram, Keith_Adam_. But anyway, for those who don't know, the Yeezy 350 Zebra releases on April 9th, tomorrow. Retail will be $230 like all recent 350s, and since this is an Adidas product and not Nike, I cannot confirm the precise stock myself, but based off of what corporate retailers are getting these, it's pretty safe to say that there will be rather healthy stock on this general release Yeezy, just as we saw on other recent 350s. In order to determine if the Yeezy 350 Zebra will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will sell at after the drop, and also when shipments come in, essentially all the pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time, and finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding. Not the retail to resale initial margin, but rather just the hold margin over X period of time. Basically, even if these do go up, are they going to be worth your time or not? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that you should be settling at. To begin with, as I mentioned earlier, I am expecting stock on these to be relatively high, like most general release 350s. Furthermore, there are also already a lot of pairs in circulation from the initial release, as well as all the prior re-releases and restocks that we've seen for these. Now, as for demand, pre-sale is just below what we saw on the dazzling blue 350s, but remember, this is also partially driven not just by pre-sellers, but also by all the pairs that are already in circulation from the prior releases, as I alluded to earlier. And so pre-sale and even the bids aren't too high right now, but they're definitely not bad. We've also been seeing good sale volume at around $300 or more. Although good and better than other pairs we have discussed on this channel, this sale volume still isn't up to par with the recent dazzling blue Yeezy 350s that we discussed, or even the Oreo 350s, even despite pre-sale being lower. Regardless, it's still good demand nonetheless, just not as good as some of the others we've discussed. Hence, I am still expecting these to remain profitable with a decent margin if you have tax and a good margin if you have no tax. But now, regarding a specific range, prices have already seen the vast majority of their pre-drop decrease following the initial rumors of this release many months ago. This leaves the current average at about $320 for sizes 4 to 12, but of course, this is only the pre-drop average. And remember, we tend to not include sizes like 12.5 and up, since those are often outliers and they tend to throw off the mean. We normally see a notable change post-US drop. This is when we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss this very frequently, yet it almost always still occurs to some degree. Regarding the impulsivity effect, if you haven't watched my seller hold videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 5 to 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. And that 5 to 10% isn't always the case, such as when a sneaker is already slightly overvalued. When it comes to these, I'd expect a similar situation as to what we saw on the recent Oreo 350. Considering they have very similar demand, the Oreos ended up settling around $365 post-drop, but we also do have to keep in mind that they have had less stock in circulation in general, and on top of that, their re-release was also more limited than these most likely will end up being, considering how many vast corporate retailers are receiving these compared to those just being Adidas confirmed and Yeezy supply. Hence, I am expecting a positive impulsivity effect still on these Zebras, but not a very notable amount. I'd only expect about a 3% increase, bringing the potential average to $330 post-drop. Even though demand is very similar to the Oreos, we must also keep in mind that there is more stock on these Zebras in total. But now, let's discuss what prices will look like once the shipments go out within that 1 to 2 week range. Now, during this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation. I wouldn't expect anything different as to what we saw on most general release Yeezy 350s recently, such as the dazzling blue, for example. Hence, I'd expect a typical 10% post-shipment decrease for these. Therefore, with that potential 10% decrease, we may see the average of 4 to 12 dip to about $297 after all shipments go out within 1 to 2 weeks. But now, with the average price range at those points in time evident, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase from that post-shipment range or even hypothetically decrease. When it comes to these Yeezy 350 Zebras, just like the Yeezy 350 Oreo and the Yeezy Wave Runner that we discussed discussed a few weeks ago, we actually have a perfect comparison for these, and that's the Yeezy 350 Zebra itself, since these already released and re-released, and now we have all the data for it already. So what exactly did we see after these Yeezy 350 Zebras re-released? Most importantly, the most recent one. First, I'm sure you guys can notice the huge drop-off from 1700 to 600 after their first re-release, but what's most useful is the other re-releases when there were already many pairs in circulation. For example, in 2018, we saw these reach a low of around $280 to $290, and they increased to about $420 to $430 before more pairs were released once again. Then we see a very similar trend just after that. The most important takeaway is while they did increase, they maxed out at around $420 to $430 each time, and now even more pairs will be going into circulation. So based off their prior performance, I do expect them to increase post-drop very gradually, but as for the potential ROI and whether it's worth it or not, we'll be discussing that next. So finally, regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are these actually going to be worth your time even if they do end up increasing? Considering what we just went over, if these hypothetically do get back to the 420 to 430 range, despite there still being more pairs in circulation now, perhaps over the course of a year to a year and a half, that would hypothetically allow for a 30% ROI, which is usually what we refer to as an average hold, which certainly isn't bad by any means, it's just not above average. Hence, I have rated these a 5 out of 10 hold, assuming they are around 330 post-drop, as this could allow for about a 30% ROI, which we refer to as typically average. On the other hand, if I am wrong about the impulsivity effect and these actually drop to, let's say, $300 or even lower than that, then that would hypothetically allow for a 45% ROI, since there's much more room for these to increase, and that is certainly above average. So in that hypothetical case where I'm wrong about the impulsivity effect and they actually drop in value post-drop, then in that case I'd rate these a 6.5 out of 10 hold, which is above average. So either way it goes, those are the ratings based off the potential ROIs you may see. Do keep in mind that these can also restock at any time, like any Yeezy. Most likely it will be in about a year or so or more than that, so when you are satisfied with your return, I'd suggest selling these. Personally though, I'll be quick selling all of my pairs during the impulsivity effect unless they do drop to 300 or lower than that post-drop. In that hypothetical case, I will be holding them. Also, just a note in general, for anyone considering holding any items who do have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you do need money to go for all drops, try to sell these as soon as possible. Let me know what you guys are doing with your pairs down in the comments below, since this is a discussion at the end of the day, and I can't predict the future. That's just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching the video now, so I implore you to leave your notions down in the comments below. But anyway, that will conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two, subscribe, and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for You. This way you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on the drop, or congratulations if you already copped.